ekstra bir şey katmayacaktır diyor Daniel Bey. Bu BIM'de oluşan bir takım kütüphaneler var. Bu kütüphanelerde benzer bütün ürünlerin bilgilerine ulaşabiliyorsunuz. Ve oradan veriler alıp kullanabiliyorsunuz. İşte o kütüphanelere erişimde Eurovent'te bir kanal açıyor. Mr. Erick is with us. I would like to welcome him. And Mr. Erick Melquiond is head of Eurovent certification company, and he's also responsible from the ProBIM initiative project. And he is invited for this event to give some information about ProBIM and what they are planning to do. And let's listen to him.
Thank you very much, Rosa. First of all, I want to thank you, İSKİD, to provide me this opportunity. As you know, this symposium is all being delivered to you by eminent people that, on top of that, speak Turkish, but not me. So I am in trouble a little bit. Then this morning I asked on the programs, you know, who was speaking and so on. So a friend of mine gave me some hints. And then when we arrived at Daniel Casado, that was the speaker just before me, he wrote Guru. So the speaker just before me is the best guy you can ever meet to discuss about BIM. So here start my trouble, because I'm not a guru. Okay? And on top of it, I'm going to do it in English. Nevertheless, I will explain to you why and give you some hints about what you need to know about the BIM. As the previous presentation was absolutely excellent, okay, you got in 30 minutes 1 week of training. I will skip some slides and we focus on the subject, and you will see that I will slightly move from discussion about BIM, building, to PIM. I've got in front of me mostly manufacturers of product, not manufacturers of building. Okay? So your aim, your objective is to put those products somewhere here in this building. Okay? The BIM is about describing this building. But describing the building doesn't help you to sell your product there, okay? So before going to the second floor of a house, you have to go through the first floor. So I will concentrate on the PIM, which I consider being for all of you as manufacturers as the first floor requirement, the first staircase you have to go through to be able to go, or your product to go to a BIM project. Okay? So, very briefly, for the people who don't know us, we are well known in the world of HVAC. I see many faces and many people that display Eurovent certified product or production. This is our background. Now, let's move directly to the subject. Like I say, I don't know if there's a pointer. Yes. So, we are going to talk about what ProBIM, which is a company that is dedicated to dealing with this matter of how to manage data to make sure your product ends up where you want them to end up. You have a world here where your data, your product are described in some kind of files. Sometimes it's directly in your own ERP. Sometimes actually it's split in different databases. You may have a database that is covering the design, and then you move to a database that is dealing with some manufacturing. And maybe you will also have a database that is dealing with the data for marketing and sales and so on. Maybe you are lucky enough to have everything under one database already. Or maybe you are lucky not to have it under one database, it depends. Then you may also, depending on your business, have already some link of information with some distribution network, some big customer that would like to receive data from your products. Anyway, you have an organization here that is covering and managing the data of your product. Okay? At the other end here, I call it market. Okay? And in this market, we have to understand this is a market. This is where you want your product to go. But your product is going there under different and for different purposes. Today's subjects with BIM, okay, you say, okay, this is where my product wants to go. But in fact, your product may have to feed different needs. You may have, and I will come back to that later on, you may have to update April. Well, BIM is not April, and April is not BIM. Yes, but this is about data, and it's about data about the same product. April, by the way, is a European product register eco-labeling requirements. Okay? So for the one, and Turkey is a big exporter, and you are exporting a lot to Europe. If you want to export to Europe, April 2019, your data need to be in that database. Okay. When you are selling product, most of your product, we are in HVAC, it's a slightly complex world. You need to do calculation. Thermal load, you need to comply with EPBD, the construction code of a given country, and as energy is becoming a key element in today and tomorrow's life, you need to do calculation. Again, you need your data to move from this world to this world to satisfy some thermal calculation, to satisfy various calculations that are made using your product. You will also, and I mentioned it, you want your product to be displayed in some catalog, e-catalog. Everything is becoming e-something. People can copy and paste your information from somewhere and display it on your catalog, on their catalog, but usually you get garbage. So if you want to make sure you don't have garbage about your product somewhere in the digital world, you have to master that, and you have to make sure you control and you update the information. Update. It's the most important word. Having a file ready to describe your product is, I would say, fairly easy. But this is only 10% of your trouble. 90% is keeping that file updated, making sure when you make product change, the data are being changed, making sure when you stop this product and you replace by another one, those products and those data don't carry on living somewhere. It will create a mistake, it will create frustration under your brand. Okay, so those are the fit. going from here to here, and of course, we have to do it as manufacturers in the most efficient ways. If having a product in the BIM is the only objective, you are going to sell a product. Let's say you are in Finland. As you have seen in a map presented earlier, Finland is a very advanced country for BIM-ready situation. Well, the building will not be commissioned until all the BIM model is completely finished and accepted. You will not be paid if there is a missing digit somewhere that say the BIM model of this project is not completed. That means that you are very happy to have sold this product, but you might spend a lot of money to get the last 10 or 20% of your payment. So it's good to have a product in the BIM, but it's better to have it and you still have money on the bank. You still make profit. Okay? Because manufacturers are selling product to make profit, not selling product to have a nice picture inside a BIM. And a BIM is a lot more than just a picture, by the way. Okay? So clearly I will skip that one because it's very similar to one that was presented by Daniel earlier. About this also, and on top of it, he did it in Turkish, so on this one, easy to understand. Concerning the description of BIM, it's only one sentence, so you can read it. To facilitate design, construction, and operation. Remember, design might be calculation, construction might be, about installation, but also startup. And then operation might be about later on M&E, operation of your product, spare parts. So here there are opportunities for, again, selling spare parts and getting in contact with your product once it is installed. It's also an opportunity to what I call recurring building, recurrent business. A building life is like 50, 100 years. Typical HVAC life is 10, 15 years. So if you do your work properly, maybe 10 or 12 years later, when it's about replacing the product, your information will be helpful for you. Anyway, let's go straight to the point. Yes. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just before talking about product itself and what we will propose in ProBIM, and although Daniel covered it a little bit, I would like to come back to that. There are three directions or three kind of information that we need to address for the challenge, because BIM is a challenge for manufacturers. One area is the area 1, called IFD, which is basically the dictionary. You cannot believe how much differences there is among the world when using words for describing a product. For example, we did a little study for a window. There is 18 different ways of providing the dimension of a windows. So the same windows, okay? If you go around in Europe, you are going up with 18 different numbers. Even if we are talking about the width and the height of that window, you get 18 different methods. Okay, so dictionary is a key aspect. The second one is once you have agreed on the terminology, you need to agree in the way, in the level of detail, and Daniel went very clearly, LOD, level of details. This is all quite well defined on paper. In reality, there is still a long way to go, very long. Okay. Finally, you have understood that, in my diagram, you start from here, you have your product here, you want those products to go to the market. That means you need to exchange data, and exchanging data in a numerical world, nobody has got the same format. Format has been updated and so on. This requires a lot of energy. So, I need to respect the timing, so I will skip all that. And I will do this. So now we are going to talk PIM, Product Information Management, focused on HVAC product. We need to differentiate two big family of product. We have what we have called catalog product. I don't want to take an example because it's always incorrect a little bit. So imagine you are manufacturing 10 pipe, 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 5 meter. In your catalog you have 4 line or 10 line. The pipe reference for 1 meter, the pipe reference for 2 meter. And this is all what you do. Okay. This is what I call a catalog product. Okay. Not really reflecting the HVAC world. The HVAC world is more what we call a custom product, in fact. Even if I know there are quite a few AHU manufacturers here, or chiller manufacturers, or fan coil manufacturers. Even if you have indeed some catalog with a few range and so on, the reality is that you are all using a selection software or a kind of mechanism that you start from a catalog product, and when you discuss with your customers, you end up with a customized product. And as you go through this process, the customized product do not have exactly the same characteristic as the catalog one. You start from here and you end up slightly around, or maybe sometimes very different. So this has to be kept in mind in order to understand how ProdBIM is addressing this subject. So, the manufacturer side, the manufacturer is the owner of the data, okay? And you should remain the owner of the data. That means you need to control your data, you need to make sure that they are kept up to date, and you need to decide where you want your data to go. Okay? How does it work? First, there will be a need from the BIM world, whether it's a specific project or whether it's a consultant that is working on a specification and try to see what kind of product he can propose, okay? Even before being in the BIM project, he will look for some information. And you can do this or going through generic object, or generic object but branded. That means, okay, it's manufacturer's A, and you do a request like this one, 3-4, brand. I want a product, I'm looking at product A, from manufacturer's A, sorry, and you get the information. To do this, first of all, there are a few questions or search you need to do. When we are talking BIM, we are talking worldwide market. you are not selling your product the same way in different markets. So you need to know when somebody is asking something for which market it is. Because regulation might be different. Maybe the display of information are going to be different. So depending on who is asking the information, you are going to display different information. Then what's going on? You are going to have iterations. Remember, you start from a catalog, and then the story is kind of evolving. And when it's evolving, you are actually moving in a system like that where the person who needs information, okay, is going to do a request, and that request is going to go to your selection software, because no manufacturers are going to put their selection software in Revit and everywhere. You own it, that's your property, you don't want this to be somewhere, okay? So you want to make sure that the information goes back to your tool to update and finalize the project. Remember, we are here to do business. Okay? And this business is happening in that stage. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there is going to be maybe several ways on and on. So this is what, as a PIM, Product Information Management, PRODBIM is addressing. Okay? Now, as I do not have much time, I'm going just to take one example of a use of information management, which is April. I need to skip that, I'm sorry, because I will not respect time if I don't do that. So, what do we supply? We will provide a way for you in one point, in one place, to deliver the information. By the way, we will have what we call a manufacturer portal dedicated to manufacturer A, to manufacturer B, where you have your own area where you put your data the way you want. By the way, in this area also, you tell us where you want those data to be displayed. I'm not interested in the French market, too complex. I don't have a distributor there, I don't market my product there. I don't want my product to be displayed in the French market. However, I'm well organized for market in a given country. Well, then you tell us, and then on the output here, your product will be seen only where you want your product to be seen. Some people are going to say, this guy is stupid. Why do I don't want my product to be seen everywhere? Well, be careful. There is a lot of complexity in that. So if you want to be everywhere at the same time, good luck. You'll lose a lot of money and you'll achieve not much. Okay? So you have to have a strategy there. Anyway, we will manage, and this is what we call the supplier portal. We'll manage the information. We'll structure it. Remember this triangle information, dictionary, level of information, and also the way information are exchanged. Well, our database here is a quite new way of doing a database, which is we will be able to manage multi-standard. Actually, as many standards as we can, or as we want, all right? Therefore, when we need to export the data or make the data available to Revit for a given country, well, we will supply the right LOD level, depending on what stage it is, but also with the right information that suit the French market. There are information that are absolutely necessary in the French market to get your building permit, and those information are not necessary for Germany or for UK or for Finland. But guess what? In Finland, they will ask for something slightly different. Okay? So the export here, we call it, I forgot the name, but the export software or link, okay, will manage that to satisfy the market. Why is it so important to satisfy the market? Well, it's very easy. You are using any kind of application, you want to buy something, okay? If the application, when you work on it, okay, don't work very well, what do? You switch. I say, I go to shopping in a different place. This place is too fuzzy, it's too difficult. I go to somewhere else. Well, it's the same thing with BIM. If the guy was working on the project, okay, in France, for a residential house building permit, the requirement for building calculation, okay, it's half a day work. Okay? The guy who has to do the work has to do it in half a day. He's not going to lose time. At the end of half a day, he has to have finished, because if he hasn't finished, the level of price after he's losing money. So you need to make sure that the quality of the data and the availability of those data are every day perfect. This is the responsibility of BIM. Okay? How can we do it? Well, because if here we have 400, 500, 600 manufacturers, today our certification file, okay, is covering 2 million SKU, 52 different products. If we do a work and we do an export here, maybe we'll have to spend 50,000 euro in making this export protocol working. And by the way, we will need to spend about 20% of that money every year to keep it maintained. If you have to do that for every area where you want your product to be visible, this is a lot of money. If I do it here, oh, it has disappeared again. If I do it here, I can share the cost with 400, 500, 600 manufacturers. So then your cost becomes very competitive. I don't know what I did again. It's back. It's back. Last part of the discussion. Last part of the discussion, which is, it doesn't go further. Yeah, last part of the discussion, I will finish on one very concrete use, okay, April, which is this European database. Why it is very concrete? Because it's a regulation, and if your product is going into Europe, you will have to comply. And BIM will help you to do that. But then BIM tomorrow is to comply with April. In 6 months, you want to be ready for Revit. You can be same database, same portal to enter your data, and then you access Revit. You access, tomorrow you want to be ready for thermal software in Germany. You will have it ready also. So, that's the key word. And by the way, there was some people from Ankara that came today to learn more about this. The reason why they are doing this database in Europe is because they want to improve the market surveillance. They want to make sure that what manufacturers declare as performance are close to reality. We will, as part of that, we will make sure that we provide the data for this database. For information, this database is covering 2 aspects. One part will be public and open to the market. One part will be confidential. What does it mean, confidential? That means only the market surveillance body of every country have got access to the data. Okay? Of course, as BIM, we will manage off-site, okay? And we know how to manage confidential data. We have been doing this for 25 years. Detailed information here, you see which are the products that need to be covered. air conditioner, local space heater, residential ventilation unit, space heater, water heater. Those are what is in the scope of this regulation. I think I'm too good in English, so they want me to do it mute. I'm going to stay away from the computer. Okay, that's it. The one next. Okay, this one. Okay, so to summarize, I think you need to stay here. Okay, you stay here. It looks it works better. Or you think it's because I touched the cable? Anyway, next slide, next, again, that's it. Okay. So with ProdBIM, we will cover all manufacturers, whether you have a certified product or not. Okay, the April regulation covers all products, so we will supply the information. So you can, the first immediate application of the BIM, of your BIM objective, okay, will be April. And we will be ready to supply that in order for you to comply, of course. By the way, you can also do it by yourself. It is also possible, but we believe we can supply a level of service that will make us attractive to you. Maybe next slide. Okay, I will not go in details. Next slide. All right. Question time a little bit, and I display the contact person. If you want to have more details, you just email to this person. He's in charge of the project directly under my management. Question time.
Okay. Sorularınızı alabiliriz. Sorusu olan varsa ben tercüme edebilirim. Direkt kendiniz de sorabilirsiniz. Maybe I just take a very small information about ProdBIM. Everyone listen to you, but maybe simple words. ProdBIM aslında bizim Erick'le yaklaşık bir senedir görüştüğümüz bir konu değişik ülkelerde. BIM çalışma grubu olarak aslında kendisiyle temas içerisinde olduk. ProdBIM sunumlarda da gördüğünüz gibi aslında bir kanal açıyor. Bizim üreticiler için hazırladığımız ürünlerimizin değişik pazarlara ulaşması için bir kanal açıyor. Bu da aslında o anlamdaki bir platform gibi. Ürünlerimizi tasarımcıların kullanımına sunabileceğimiz bir platform gibi. Dolayısıyla o platformun nasıl oluştuğu, işleyişin nasıl olacağına ilişkin bir sunum bu. Sorunuz varsa özellikle üreticiler tarafında ilgisi çeken varsa evet buyurun arkadan. Evet, ama, bu arada sunumlarla ilgili sunumu yapan arkadaşlardan yazılı onay aldıktan sonra eğer izin verirlerse katılımcılarla paylaşacağız bütün sunumları. İzin verenler tabii ki.
Maybe before the question, to avoid confusion, okay? I know we are in Turkey and you want to satisfy your Turkish market. What you need to understand is an output here. Even though you enter your data here and it's going on ProdBIM, if your main market is Turkey and if they are Turkish calculation software for thermal buildings or specific BIM project in Turkey, they have access here too. Do not consider this as a European funny thing and so on that is not going to be helpful for your country. You can have here, you can say, of course, your own country and beyond. But the idea is to make sure that the work you do it here, you do it once, very well, but you do it once. And remember, 90% of the difficulty is updating data. Question? Yes?
Mr. Melquiond, I have a question. Imagine that I have an environment registered selection software. It is a very intelligent software. I can customize units whatever I want. And then I create an BIM file output from the software. So I do not need this process you are showing, a generic database, etc. Am I right?
Yes. But you have a very intelligent software, okay? Is this intelligent software is also
Customize units dynamically.
Yeah. Is this software crawling in the web and catching every person that is interested in your subject?
Sorry, I do not understand clearly.
You have a
I
software.
have a software intelligence.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
But is this software, as part of its intelligence, is going to crawl everywhere to see you somewhere that there is a very intelligent guy that have got a very intelligent software? I'm not sure. What you need is like fishing. You know, you can have a very good hook, but if you don't send the hook in the right area, and by the way, you don't know, you know, fishermen, you know, send so many times. You say, how come they need to send so many times?
I understand you.
So ProdBIM is giving you that opportunity that because of the quality of the data that are made available here, you are attracting, as an HVAC world, we are attracting big players that are working on ProdBIM. And then, once you are hooked,
okay, I understand.
then start your very intelligent things that will work. So the answer is yes, you can do it alone, but be careful not to starve, because it might take a while before you get the first fish.
My second question is, you are talking about catalog products. You mean a statistical configuration. And I create a BIM file from the catalog product. It's a static file. And you are saying I'm recalculating and simulating this according to customization. And how do you guarantee the thermal calculation result? They are right. Because design data, I have the design data and criteria. You don't know.
I don't know which product you are manufacturing, but let's take a fan coil. Fan coil product, I'm sure everybody know more or less, okay? Typical characteristic 712, okay? So you'll start step 1 to 712, okay? And very soon the guy is going to tell me, no, my operating, by design, I'm going to operate it at a different category, because by the way, this building is going to be hooked to a district heating and cooling.
Oh, right.
District don't work at 712, they work at different conditions. Well then, this is where you start to do this, and you update your file with the right information. And by the way, as you do this work, it started with model 300, and the result of your very intelligent software say, Mr. Customer, I've got a better, cheaper proposal, where if I take the model 400 with your conditions, So then you switch, you update your file, and you switch the information of that model. And by the way, this model has got different dimension. So when you get to the LOD level where it's about to hook this thing on the wall, where the pipes are coming, where you need the plug, are different. Or maybe the size is different. Well, then you update it.
Sorry?
You update it as you do this.
Of course.
As this is changing, you are updating your file. That's it.
If I make selection dynamically, for example, an air handling unit, it is always changing.
But
according to selection. So
but don't be confused. Don't be confused. This part, the clever part, will always remain.
Okay.
The problem is how many times you are going to be asked to do your work.
All right.
The idea is to find a way to get your product as visible as possible in this numerical world. Okay, I don't solve the difficult technical subjects. This is the responsibility of each manufacturers that are doing it the way they want.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to thank you, Eric. It was a very informative presentation, but we have to go in deep with this project because it gives us some opportunities. On the other hand, we have to adapt our data and our manufacturers according to this.
Please have a good workshop tomorrow. I know you are going to work hard, and I hope that those kind of inputs we gave or I gave today will be helpful for you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thank you.